right. So this class is about possibilities. We're going to learn how to do some things, but we're not going to be able to go in depth about everything. So I have a pretty detailed handout that gives you links to websites and videos where you can learn more information. So just think about it that way. We're not going to learn how to do everything about all of these different cool tools today. So first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about artificial intelligence. Let's see here. So what we hear about a lot is ChatGPT, which is a large language model. And I always have trouble explaining what that is. So I had ChatGPT explain what a large language model is. So it's designed to understand and generate human language. And what happens is you train these large language models with lots of text. So people would feed a huge library of books, articles, and websites. And then the large language model reads the text and learns how to use human language. And as it reads, the model looks for patterns. It starts to learn how things are connected, like cats are often described as cute or fluffy, or the sky is blue is a common sentence. And once it's learned those patterns, the model can create its own text. So you can ask it questions, give it prompts, or ask it, start telling it a story and ask it to finish it. And the more information that you feed it, the better it's going to be. So it's kind of like a super advanced autocomplete tool that can understand and produce human-like text-based language on what it's been trained on. So the first thing that we're going to learn how to do with these is transcribing records. When you're looking for a record to transcribe, you want to make sure it meets certain criteria. You're going to feed it images to transcribe. So you want to make sure that it's a high quality image. So you want to use the best resolution possible. So if you look at the image to the left, it's nice and clear. The one to the right, it's not so clear and it's pixelated. So you don't want to give it something like that. You also want to adjust it beforehand if you can make it better. So the top image is low contrast, it's pretty dark. And the bottom one is where I lightened things up and gave it more contrast. And you want to give it something with decent handwriting. This is something in Old German script. If a human can't read the handwriting, AI isn't going to be able to read the handwriting. AI isn't a miracle worker. If it's really poor writing, it's not going to be able to understand it. So one thing I like to do is use a tool called Transcribus. It's a free website. It's an online digitization platform. And it uses artificial intelligence to read and transcribe documents. That's what it's specifically made for. You can feed it individual documents. Some different organizations might use it to do kind of mass transcribing. It allows you a certain amount of free records, but there's a limit, and your handout details that. So if you're doing like a really huge project, you might want to get a paid subscription so that you can do that. Like if you wanted to do an individual project, you could say, use it to transcribe a family diary or church records. And then you would have printed text, which is easier to read and keyword searchable. So this is what Transcribus looks like. If you go to this particular link, you can just upload a document. But there is a way to create a free account, and then you'll get your free number of transcribing to be done each month. So if you do create an account, the difference between doing it that way or this way is that if you create an account, it will remember what is done in the past. You may or may not want that, but I'm just going to show you this way, which wouldn't save the information. So what you do is you simply, you want to first, before you upload your document, you want to choose the language. This is one thing that's nice about Transcribus. It does have different models for different languages. And then you want to, you also want to choose whether it's handwritten or print there at the top, what kind of document it is. And then you select the file. And when you click on that, it'll let you choose a document from your computer. And once it's uploaded, it'll start to transcribe. So here's an example document. This is a diary of someone who was in the Civil War. And this is, so you can see it, what it'll do is it'll automatically start transcribing the document. I would say this probably took like 15 seconds or so. Usually it takes like 15 to 30 seconds, just depending on how easy it is to read and how long the document is. So it just automatically starts doing that. And what's kind of neat about Transcribus is if you say take your mouse and you start hovering over the transcribed text, whatever line you're hovering over to the left, it puts an outline around that line. So you can compare them. It's an easy way to compare it. Then once you've got the transcription, what you could do is you could download it as a PDF file. You could download it as a document. You could copy it to your clipboard. I often just copy it to the clipboard and then paste it into whatever, you know, whether I'm using Microsoft Word or Google Docs or whatever I'm using. Then what I like to do is then I like to use ChatGPT or another large language model to correct the misspellings. And what you want to do when you go into one of these models is to give it a prompt and you want to tell it what you want it to do. And usually what you do is you give it a role. So say, for example, act as a professional proofreader. Correct the misspellings in this text. Leave the line returns as they are in the text. Keep the punctuation and capitalization as it is in the text. And I usually like to tell it a little bit about the document. The text is from a U.S. Civil War diary. Now, I know with genealogy, we want to keep things the way that they are spelled normally. So if something's misspelled, we want to keep it that way. But most of the time, words are spelled correctly. So I do find this helpful. So what I did here is here's the original document on the left. Then in the middle, that's what Transcribus does. And you can see how it's got some different misspellings here. You can see some of them are just because they're names and it doesn't recognize the name, but most of them are misspellings. So you can kind of see how good ChatGPT is in understanding language. So for example, like these green circled things, it knew that Albany, GA was Albany, Virginia. It knew this weird spelling, TSEROF, was supposed to be desired because it could predict the language. Down at the bottom, it says here to watts, W-A-T-E-S, instead of weeks. And it knew it could predict what that was. And it knew that it wasn't May the month and shouldn't be capitalized, and it was just the word May. So it predicted that language. It made some other corrections as well. And I did tell it to keep the capitalization the same, but it didn't listen to me. And sometimes that's what happens with these artificial intelligence programs is sometimes it doesn't listen to what you tell it to do. It did get a couple things wrong. So the red underlined things, it didn't read those correctly, but that's only a couple of things that I would have to change myself. So you always want to compare what it did to the original. But I find that, you know, if it's a pretty well written document, that it's going to be able to save you time in the long run. So this is me. I'm going to try to use a more complicated document. Oh, okay. Wait. No. So this is my example of when I use this in ChatGPT. So I'm using, instead of Transcribus, I'm using ChatGPT to try to transcribe this document. So act as a professional transcriptionist, transcribe this page, leave the line returns as they are on the document, keep the punctuation as and capitalization as it is in the document, and the page is from a US Civil War diary. And this is how it did. So at the left is Transcribus, in the middle is ChatGPT, and it was ChatGPT 4.0, which right now it's free for people to use. I have a paid subscription to it. So I have more chats that I can do with it. You'll be more limited if you don't have a paid subscription in terms of how many transcriptions it would do or how many images that it will work with. And so you can see it did, the red text is things that it got wrong. But something like that it did is it handled the heading on this document, whereas you see on the left, Transcribus didn't handle that January, that printed text, the date there, but ChatGPT got it right. So here's a more complicated document. This is a land lease from Cattaraugus County. And you can see the handwriting isn't horrible, but it's definitely a longer document. The handwriting isn't quite as readable as the other document that I did. And so I fed it, I gave it the same kind of prompt that I did for the last one. I fed it into ChatGPT 4.0. And to the right is what I typed out myself from reading the document. And to the left is what ChatGPT gave me. And all of the green highlighted text they made it up. ChatGPT completely made up what was in that document, and that is not correct. All of the red text is similar to what was in the original document, but there are some errors in it. So sometimes with more complicated documents, it doesn't do as well, and it's going to make stuff up. So you really do want to pay attention and proofread whatever it is that AI gives you. So that's something called hallucinations. So AI will try to guess what information is in there. So it'll know the kind of language that was a land lease, and it'll be familiar with the kind of information in the document type that you give it, and it'll make up stuff that might sound accurate because it sounds like language that would be in a lease or a deed or a will or whatever you're transcribing, but it's going to be just completely made up. So my preference is to use Transcribus because it doesn't seem to hallucinate. It definitely gets things wrong, but it doesn't hallucinate. So I like to use the method that I showed you where I put it in Transcribus and copy it and paste it into artificial intelligence like ChatGPT or Google Gemini. This is what it did. This is what Transcribus did. And you can see all of the red underlined information are the errors. And so again, I just told ChatGPT some of the information I want it to know, like what kind of document it is, the location, the main individuals named, and leaving those line returns, keeping the punctuation. And then I ask it to provide the transcription in code so it can be copied, and it just makes it easier for you to copy the document. So here's my prompt. Act as a professional proofreader. Correct the misspellings in this text. The text is from an 1839 land lease from Cattaraugus County, New York. Samuel Williams of Ellicottville leased land to Mark Williams and Polly Williams, his parents. And then I do all the leave the line returns and everything like that. And then I ask it to give it to me in code. So this is, if it gives it to you in code, this is what it'll look like usually. and then you just click that copy code and can paste it. And one thing that you can do that it's something I didn't know how to split a screen when you're in using Windows and you want to split in a screen, like some people have two screens, two monitors that they use. You can split your screen if you just have one screen. And so if you paste your text into a Word document that ChatGPT just fixed, you can then open the image that was transcribed. If you hold down the keys Windows Z, it'll split your screen into two parts, and you can decide the formation. See over here to the right, all these different formations that you can have. And you just click one, and then you click the other document that you want to look at side by side. And then you've got the original and what ChatGPT did side by side. And it did a really good job at correcting that transcription. The things that I still had to correct are the highlighted things in yellow. So I really do like that combination method, Transcribus and then ChatGPT or Google Gemini. So I'm going to just skip that. We're going to look at Family Search Full Text. I'm going to do that live for you. So next, we're going to move on to Google Translate with Google Lens. So you can use this on your smartphone or tablet, and it's free. You just use the Google app. You have to download the Google app on your phone, and usually there'll be a button over here that says Translate with Google. So you just click on that. And then what you do is you just hold your phone in front of whatever document that you want it to translate for you, and it will translate it automatically. So this is a Polish book on people in Buffalo, the Polish community in Buffalo. And what it does is it just overlays. It kind of looks like paste overs, and it'll just automatically translate it into English. So there you can see it kind of zoomed in. So we actually had this human translated. And, you know, it was pretty good. I underlined what I thought was significant weirdness, but for the most part, it did it quite well. And then what you can do if you click this button here, you can click here to translate. It'll give you that translation in text that you can copy from your phone. So you just hit that little button and it'll copy it. And then you can email it to yourself. And then you could just copy it into a document. The next app, this is one I really like for taking photos of documents when I'm out at a repository. It's called Genius Scan. You can, there's a, you know, a free portion of it, and then there's a paid portion of it. But the free portion is good. You can work with it. So you just find the Genius Scan once you download it. You can click on that and it'll look like this. So when you're ready to take a photo of a document, you just click on that big orange plus sign and you just hold your phone over what it is. You can import things from your photos if you want to do that. But if you're taking a picture of something at a repository, you just click scan from camera and then you just hold it over. I'm showing a 2-page span, but I do find it works better if you do 1 page at a time. And then you'll see that document in your in that app, and then you can edit it. You can click edit. And you can change it if you prefer to have something a certain way. It can be black and white. You can see I selected black and white if for some reason you wanted it to be that way. You can have it in color. You can have it look more like a photograph. Color and photograph look about the same. Sometimes it looks slightly different. If you needed to, rotate it or crop it, you can do all that kind of stuff. But what I love about this app, it's brilliant. It's curvature correction. So if you've got, it's a book and it's curved or warped or whatever, it'll flatten it out really nice. So you just click this little button, curvature correction. If it's green here, that means it's on. And can you see the difference? See how it's tilted to the left and then it's flattened out to the right. I love it. It's the best. It's awesome. And then what you can do is the free version allows you then to email that document to yourself. And if you got the paid version, I forget, it's like $2 a month or something. I don't do the paid version. I just do free. It allows you to like upload things to Drive or Dropbox or whatever. So maybe if you're doing like a big trip, you might want to pay for a month of a subscription because you're going to take tons and tons of photos. So next, I'm going to just stop sharing my screen for a second, and I'm going to move to stuff online. Thank you. Okay. So the next thing I want to show you what to do is how to summarize data using ChatGPT. And so and this prompt is in your handout. I'm going to start a new chat just so you can see everything live. And so I'm going to put a prompt in here. And this is what I like to do. So I'll do this for obituaries. I'll usually do this for like printed text documents, but you could paste transcribed, like if you did a transcription with Transcribus and then, cleaned it up like I showed you, you could paste that text in here too. But I like it to pull out the family members' names in obituaries and make different columns for the information in an obituary. So you want to tell it what you want it to do. And this whole prompt is on your handout. Please draw a table of the family members of, so you put the person's name who passed away, Francis Zelazna, using the information found in this obituary. Put the relationship in a column, the family member's given name in a column, the family member's surname in a column, if the family member was deceased in a column, and then in the last column, show me how you determined this relationship. And that's just so you can see why they did why the AI did what it did. Don't include information outside the obituary. That's to try to stop it from making stuff up, like the hallucinations, like I told you about. Tell me when you are unclear. Then please provide a comma delimited file so that the data can be easily copied and pasted into a spreadsheet. Please provide a code block so I can do this. And then what you do is you can click on this little paperclip, and then you can upload an item from your computer. And so I'm going to choose this obituary and open. There it is. So it's loaded. And then you just click the arrow. I picked a really awesome obituary. Usually this many family members aren't an obituary, but this one was very detailed. So you can see you've got the relationship, the given name, surname, if they were deceased, and it tells you the determination reason. So Anthony was beloved, wife of the late Anthony Zelazna. So that's why it made those determinations. So then you could, you want to check the obituary to see if you think it got everything right. And then this is the code that I told you about. And so what you can do is you click copy code, and these instructions are on your handout. And if you open up an Excel spreadsheet and you just click in that first field and then you paste it into that field, this little clipboard thingy shows up and you click used text import wizard. And you want to choose delimited and next, separated by commas. And then click next. And then you leave it general. I usually like to choose that it's text instead of letting it choose. Instead of general, I choose text. And then you click finish. And there it is. It's in a spreadsheet if you want it that way. Usually you can like copy this pretty well, copy this to your clipboard and it pastes in pretty well, but this is more of a surefire way to do it. So next, I'm going to show you Google Earth Pro. So Google Earth Pro is something that is free. You have to download it to your computer, but it is free. Just takes a minute to load. And there's a link in your handout to a more detailed handout that we put on the Grosvenor Room blog. So you're going to learn how to, you can figure out how to do this step by step, but I just want to show you some of the capabilities of this. So one of the things that people like to do with this is to do map overlays. And so you can do different things. I have this Buffalo Neighborhoods project that I did. And I did these, you can see there's like a 1720 map, an 1856, 1872. I did all of these map overlays. So I'm going to click on one of these things that I already created. If you put a little check in the box, then that'll show. And what I'm going to do is just double click on that map. Okay, so there it is. So this is a 1720 map of Iroquois land. And what I was kind of doing is I was doing a project showing what canal side looked like over time. So you'll find when you do this that maps aren't necessarily drawn all that well sometimes. So I'm going to show you what you do is to do I'm going to let you look at the instructions online, how to create a map overlay mainly, but there's a little button here where you can do a map overlay. And it's very simple to do. It's as simple as browsing for an image that you've already uploaded to your computer and then clicking OK. And it's not going to place it for you. You have to place it yourself, but it will upload it and then you can move it around. And then after you have one uploaded, if you right click on here and you go to properties, the box will open and you can change the opacity. And you can kind of see how well things are or how things kind of line up. So you can keep it at whatever level that you want it to be at in terms of the opacity. And if you needed to move it around, you can hold this and then move it. and you can turn it. And that's how you do the moving around. And to make it bigger or smaller, you hold down the shift key and you pull on a corner, and that'll keep the dimensions. If you want to not keep the dimensions, if you think the map is really weird and you really want to change the dimensions, you could just pull on it. But you have to do all that work yourself. There's some maps like from the David Rumsey map collection that are put online. I think it's like 100 maps or something like that that are automatically put on there. And there's some US GS service maps, and that's on the handout that I gave you a link to. So say I don't want to show this map anymore, you just take the little checkbox out of there and then say I want to see what Canal Side looks like in 1856. So it's a much tinier map here. So if I just zoom in, here's Canal Side in 1856. So like here's more the Canal Side area. And then if I wanted to see 1872, I can click on the 1872, and that kind of overlays it. It shows a little bit of a different area. And you can always remove one. Like I removed the one that was underneath. And then there's this other map of the seawall strip. So like there was an Irish shanty town. And that was here. And what I did too is what you can do is you can put place markers on these maps. And there's just like a little pin here that you can click on and do that. And so I made little pins here, and I made it like a camera pin so that if you click on that, here's a photo of that area. So you can paste in photos. Here's another one. Let's see, let me take that one off. If I click on that one, here's kind of a zoomed in area of that same picture showing the Irish, like mainly Irish shanty town. And then I pasted in text. Then I put a census record of people that I found living. Sometimes they called this place the island. So people were listed as living on the island, and that's what that meant, is they were living here. And then I put like a, we have this narrative as part of a project. And this is a page clipping of what life was like in these different areas. So I pasted just an image of that in there. Is Google Earth for projects and sites? So someone's got a question. Is Google Earth for projects and site information? Does Pro have the same capabilities? I don't really use Google Earth by itself. I usually just use the Pro. So I know you can kind of, I know that Google Earth has had some updates, and it's kind of, you can make sort of like a slideshow. You can do a tour, like you can video record a tour in Google Earth Pro. I would say I do like the look of Google Earth with sharing photos and putting pins different places. But what's nice about this is the map overlays. So if you want to do something like with map overlays, I like to use Google Earth Pro. And you can save these things. So like you could put markers all over town. This is where my ancestor lived in 1872 or whatever. And you can download these if you go to File and Save, Save Place As. It'll save it as a KMZ file. And then you could even share that with a family member so that they can add things to it if they want to. And then they could send their file back to you, and you could kind of keep working with that back and forth if you wanted to. So I did a whole class on Google Earth Pro, and that handout is available online. So next I wanted to show you a citation builder. One that I use, and I've just kind of gotten started with this, is called Aura, Online Repository Assistant. It is something that you have to pay for. I think it's $24 for a year, and you can install it on multiple computers as long as you just use one at a time. And you can see what it is it's a browser extension. And when you're on websites, what'll happen is you'll see this little tiny thing right here, or you can move it around and get it out of your way if you want to. And then if you expand it, it'll read the information on the page. So let's just say I'm going to click here on Margaret. So this information is about his name is Montreville, but somebody totally botched the name. So I'm going to click on Margaret here. And so it automatically reads this. So you want to be on this particular page where it has all of the transcribed information when you're on a record, and it'll separate out all of those fields. And so there's different options. So one thing that you could do is you could like copy. If you click this little down arrow like this, you can copy it and it'll copy all of this information, and then you could paste it in a document and just kind of manually do your own citation. But you can also set it up to be kind of more advanced. And in this little box right here, I did some code which you could learn on the website. It'll put a basic citation. So see how it says source citation? It gives you some of the data that you would want to put in a genealogy citation. But if you have a particular format, so like, you know, usually genealogists will use Elizabeth Shown Mills formats, you can make your own layout with some codes. And let me just show you. Let's see. So if I go over, oh, right here, what you can do is there's this little puzzle piece where it shows you your extensions. And if you click on Aura, it'll open up a tab. And so this is like what the code looks like. So there's a learning curve with it. But then anytime you go to the 1910 census, you'd have to do this for each kind of record that you do. Every time you go to anyone's 1910 census, it will automatically do this for you in this Elizabeth Shown Mills format. And it might not have all of the data you need on this transcription. It gets all the info from the transcription. But like, so like the dwelling number, if you wanted that on there, or the family number for a census record, you'd have to look at the record and input that yourself. But you could just copy that right there and paste it into your Word document or wherever you want to paste it. And there's more to learn with Online Repository Assistant. You can actually, it can work with family tree software where it'll upload data into your family history software, your family tree software from this. I don't use it for this purpose, but I saw someone do it and it was pretty amazing. It just takes all this data when you open up a record and puts it in there. And there is a learning curve. You do have to learn some kind of code stuff, but it has a lot of detail on the Aura website to teach you how to do that. I put a link to Site Builder in your handout also, and that one is more, it's like it'll tell you what the layout should be for a certain kind of record, and then you have to manually type that in. Something else that has some citation is Goldie May. So that's a browser extension too. And some of Goldie May you can get for free, and some of it you have to pay for. So here's my extension for Goldie May. And what it does is it opens up here on the right-hand side. You can use this anywhere. You have to have a family search, a free family search account. You sign in with the family search account. And then it does multiple things. First, I'll show you projects, and I'll show you a citation within a project. So it's good for project planning. You can click to make a new project. I have this project already started for my ancestor Aratus root. And what you can do is, say you're on family search and you've got a family search tree. Say, let's see. You've got someone, you can click on their number here and it copies the ID. And then you can put that ID in here and add, and it'll take the information from the tree and it'll put that in there. So you could click on then any of the family members if you wanted to open up their family search profile. It's just kind of an easy kind of way to click on things. And then you can put any kind of notes in here. So I think he might be the father of my ancestor Lyman root, and you can save it. And then you can make tasks for yourself. So you could just add a task and type in what you want to do. You can also, let's see. So let me click back on here. So if I open up Aratus Roots profile, when there are locations, you can click on it and see how it'll, you can automatically search the catalog for that location, the family search catalog. And say I wanted to look at vital records. And say I'm interested in this. Okay, you have to do it like this. So if you've got the title of the work, you right click on it and go to Goldie May, you can add a task from that link. So now it copied the link to that record, and I know I want to look at that record for next time. Another thing that it can do is a research log. So whenever you go to a particular page, it will, let me just open this up. You can log it. So if I wanted to log this page, I click log page, and there it is. It puts it here. So you know you looked at that. And then you could go back to it easily if you wanted to. You can automatically do auto logging. So if you were going to sit here and do a bunch, if you click automatic logging, whatever I click on, it's going to put it there. So there, it showed up there. And what it does is in this log is where it creates citations. So you have right here, when you see it green like that, it means there's a citation that it created. And it just creates a basic citation. But then you could use the information here to fill in more data, but it gets a very basic citation in there for you. And if you, let's see. I guess it's not going to do it. Sometimes if you hover over, oh yeah, there we go. If you hover over this, so I clicked over database, it's got some of that data here. So you could like copy from here if you wanted to and add it in. but it's probably just as easy maybe to copy some of this information on the page. So it's not super advanced yet for what it does for citations, but if you just want that basic information to get started, it's pretty good. Something else that's cool is this right here. It's called a subway map. So if you're open on an ancestor's profile, so here's my Aratus route. I'm just going to change how my screen is split. You can do comparisons between ancestors. And these lines are where they lived over the years. So blue, I've done multiple of them. Let me just turn a couple of them off. So this is when you open up this, it takes the information from the facts and it puts it on a timeline. It just automatically does that. So you can see he was born in Windsor, Vermont, and then he was in New York, and then he goes down to Orleans for a while, and he's back in Orleans here. And then down here, he's in Buffalo, so you can kind of track their life. And what's neat is then if you open up one of their family members' profile, so I'm going to open up who I think might be his relative. It'll then put that on there too. So you can kind of compare them side by side and be like, oh, did they overlap at certain places? And maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But you can turn on, and like some of these are from family search, some of them are from ancestry, you can see there. So I'm just going to turn off the family search one for Aratus. And they end up overlapping in Livingston County. And what's also kind of neat is that you can show hints. So if you're in Ancestry and you've got hints, if you click hints, all these little dots are hints. And then you could click on that if you wanted to. When you see a line, that's a possible newspaper that you could search, and you could click on there and go to that newspaper website. You can even map boundary changes. So if you want to see, oh, did the boundaries change? It shows you that information on there. So you'll know if you're confused by a record you're looking at. You'll see if a boundary changed. It's pretty cool. There's other things you can do, and I put a link in your handout to a really nice webinar on it. So let me close out of Goldie May. And let me show you the family search full text search. So this is new. There's a link to it on your handout. This is like an experimental search where family search is using AI to search its records, and it only searches select records. So this here, these are the records, but there are some other records that aren't listed here. I watched a webinar recently, and there's also some US indenture records and some US notarial records in here that they haven't put in this list yet. But it's really helpful if you've got US people, US land and probate records, US plantation records, there's some Mexican records, there's some Australian records in there, and that's what you'll be searching. And how I like to search it is to you can use plus and minus signs. So if you put plus and your person's first name, and then you put plus your person's last name, and then a location, all of those words have to be on the document. If you put a minus sign, that means you don't want that word to be on a document. But I like to do this and then click search. So it's searching across all those probates. So you can search for the deceased names in the probate indexes, but not the heirs. So this might be a way for you to find out an ancestor is an heir. So you can see there's a deed here, there's wills here, there's all different kinds of records. And so if I wanted to say, look at this will, you can click on it and it's got the transcription right over here. And if you want to see, so say you see this word, Peter Porter, if you want to see where that's on the page, if you hover your mouse over that, see how it turns blue on the screen on the image? It turns blue. Whatever one you're hovering over, it turns blue. So you know where that falls on the page. And so if you wanted to copy that transcription, there's just a little copy button right here. And then you could paste that in a Word document or you could download it. So I'm just going to go back. If you guys are doing African American genealogy, this has plantation records in it, but of course, African Americans are often, when they were enslaved, were often listed in wills and deeds. If you know someone's first name, you can put their first name, and unfortunately, you have to use antiquated terminology that we would never use today to find people sometimes. So a good term to put in is if you put in the term Negro in here, and often you can find them easiest this way. So if you click search, and then you can see the different, this is a freedom certificate. So this person was freed. And there's a land record and there's wills. Sometimes putting in a location doesn't work as well. So if you're having trouble finding someone, just put in like their first name and last name and not a location. Because whatever you input as your search term, it has to be on this page. So if the location was not on this page, it's not going to turn up. So let me just go back again. So what I like to do for location is over here, you can use different filters. And I like to use a place location. So if you knew your person was from the United States, you click United States. And then I would choose a state this way. So say we knew she was from Maryland. I would click on Maryland here. And if you wanted to, then you could choose a county, but I'm just going to put Maryland. And then it's going to limit your search results to that location. And just in case it doesn't fall on the same screen, then I think it's better to do it this way. So that's the full text search. It's not perfect, but you know, I've definitely found things this way. The next thing I'll show you is charting tools. So one of the tools I said I was going to talk about was Lucid Chart. This is one you can get one free chart for free. Otherwise, it's a subscription. There's another similar tool called draw.io that's on your handout that's free. I do like this one better. I think it's a little smoother, but it's kind of neat if you're like doing some kind of thought process or working on a project to make a tree. Like, for example, I'll do things with like DNA researching for adoptees. If you're trying to figure something like that out, it's kind of nice to make a little family tree this way. And it's really easy to do. There's shapes over here. You can just click on a shape. It'll put it on the screen and you can, make it big or small or change the color of it if you wanted to. I'm just going to delete that. But so I started a tree here and I just want to show you how easy this is to do to add people to the tree. So let's say I wanted to add one person out. You just hover over that little dot and click. And there it is. And everything's all nice and lined up. And then if you want to make this connect over here, you just pull this up you line up the dots together and bam, it connects. And you can just keep on adding, keep on adding. And I kind of like, you can put a little Post-it note, little sticky note. So let's say you thought this person was adopted or something. You could put a little Post-it note, or, a little task for yourself. You could type, task. And you can change, if you wanted to color code different things, you can change the colors of things. You could make men blue and women pink or whatever colors you want to use. So that, it's just really easy. If you want to put somebody's name in here, you can type that in, or whatever else. You just keep typing and can add more information in there. And then, so the last thing we'll show you is how to make an image. And I'm going to do another poll. So we got a dragon in the style of Dr. Seuss doing the chicken dance. We'll do Google Gemini. Let's do Google Gemini. So Google Gemini is a free one that you can draw images in. And you need just like a Google Gmail account, and you can use it. So you want to tell what you want it to do in a prompt. So I'll say, you want to tell it how you want it to act. Act as a professional illustrator. And then what you want it to do, create an image of a dragon in the style of Dr. Seuss. The dragon is doing the chicken dance. And I just want to see what it'll do. So there you go. There's your dragon. I think it did a good job. So you can do, sometimes, I'll open up ChatGPT. So Gemini, that's free. And if you wanted to copy any of these, you can download them. You want to be as specific as possible. So you can be very detailed. You want it to use certain colors. You want something else to be in the picture. You can put that in there. I did want to show you what ChatGPT does. So I'm going to put this in. We'll see if it did what it did to me earlier. Yes. So sometimes each of these chats has rules. So it's telling me that it couldn't generate the request because it didn't align with the content policy. And probably that's because I put in the style of Dr. Seuss, and it's trying to protect copyright. So if you do run into that with whatever program you're using, what you can do, and what I often like to do, you do want to be detailed as far as what you tell it, what you want it to do. Sometimes I'll use AI to describe something because I can't think of how to describe something. So this is Claude, and I like Claude's transcription. The free version, it can't do images, but it can describe things for you. So you can say, I would like to draw a picture of a dragon in the style of Dr. Seuss. The dragon is doing the chicken dance. And then you can put like, please tell me how to describe the image. And then you just click. And then I would just copy that. And then what I usually do is, if you wanted to do ChatGPT, you can take out that style of Dr. Seuss right there. A dragon doing the chicken dance, and you could focus on the elements, and usually it will do that. Ah, darn it. Take anything Dr. Seuss out. So for ChatGPT, you can get some free images. I found, I've tried using, I have like created a kind of a dummy account that is the free version. And I found sometimes it will give me very basic drawings in the free version, but with the paid version, it'll give me something very detailed like you see here. But sometimes I've, gotten fairly detailed drawings in the free version. But Google Gemini usually does some good illustrations, and there are some other tools that I put on your handout where you can do. One of them's called a diagram. There's an Adobe version that you can get so many for free. And that is everything that I had to show you today. Let me see what questions. Are the images that AI creates in copyright? No. I mean, you want to watch how things develop, but no, it's not copyrighted because it's a human. Human's work is copyrighted, but AI isn't a human, so it's not copyrighted. And usually it's good practice if you are using an image to put that it was AI generated, because sometimes you can really create, like if you have it create something that looks like a photograph, it could look like a real picture, and you don't want to people it to be misleading already. Why? Okay, so someone is asking, why do you generate images for your genealogy research? So you could use it for illustrating a family history. Some people do like scrapbooking and say, you just can't find scrapbook paper with a design like you like it to be. You could make your own image and try to get it the right design like you want it to be. Or maybe you're making a family history for kids. You could have it draw something that would be appropriate for kids. Or sometimes I just like something to look like when I'm doing presentations. I'll use it for when I'm doing presentations, and say I'm talking about church records. I might have AI draw a picture of a church. Just instead of like using clip art, for a presentation that you might find on the internet, you can get it to be more what you want in AI. Sometimes AI is disagreeable and it flakes out on you and it won't do what you want it to do, but sometimes you can get an image that's appropriate. Or like when I do a DNA class, I want, a picture of a chromosome or something like that. And you can get something really colorful research. Though I did watch a class recently where they were doing like a family history that was for kids. So they actually uploaded a picture of their ancestor, and then they asked AI to describe the features of the person. And then using that description, they had them create an image of like for kids of a person meeting that description from a particular time frame, and used it for that. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.